I was used to going, look at me, look at me, look at me, tap dance. And now it was all, oh no, don't look at me. Don't express your ego. Ego is Latin for I am, that's all it is. I had never had the least bit of interest in Shakespeare my whole life. She led me to it, and I realized, oh my God, this is the biggest story ever. Why would he do this? Why would he leave codes that I somehow have a knack for finding? He's 007, for God's sake.
Yes.
Ian Fleming knew this and built James Bond on
007.
him. He hides on the surface of the poetry. It's pointing you to the Great Pyramid of Giza. For God's sake, what's that doing, you know? He's telling you history's a lot more mysterious than you think. To be or not
to be.
What does it mean? It's the most well-known line in all of literature, and he's really saying,
one of the more intriguing stories of modern history is the mystery of Shakespeare's true identity. In today's show, we're going to romp through some pretty juicy characters, but it was the anagrams and cryptographs that help our author and our show today identify the little-known historical characters as Shakespeare with a good degree of confidence, because you can see, you're a seer, and you have help. And that actually parallels some of the characters of the day. So I just want to say, as I was reading your book, Shakespeare Decoded, and you have that series here on Gaia, too, Shakespeare Decoded, I kept thinking, he has this in him already. That's why you're able to see things and decode and have things come to you the way you do, that you were already so well developed and just primed to bring this message through again. That's my big fat opinion. So
all right.
Welcome. So I think it's of you. So first of all, I wanted to set the context for your book, because you do this beautiful work having to do with anagrams and pictographs, weaving the story of the day of Shakespeare's peers of the day, royalty, religion, and everything. Yeah. And so I wanted to find out who you are first, a little bit about your background. You're a creative, for what?
I am. I've been a musician my whole life, pianist, composer, singer, been involved in the music industry, and really the heart of the music industry, for quite a long time at first. So I was on, 5 record labels. I was musical director for Davy Jones of the Monkees pop group. You know, in and out of those sort of circles, doing what I thought I wanted as a kid, right?
Wait.
I wanted to be the next Beatles, but...
You weren't mature enough to do what you're doing now, but you knew how to manifest.
But the point about it is, you know, you get into that Hollywood and the music business. I just actually, once I was in it, I couldn't stand it. I didn't want to be in it because of all the lies, all the fakeness of it. So, I mean, I wound my way through there, but I learned a tremendous amount. And
well, you learned how to manifest and connect and bring things to fruition.
I was able to do that in a rather extraordinary way. That was just, I had a memory of an actual system for manifesting, which served me well until it didn't anymore. And the turning point for that is, if you think you're the one doing it, I'm thinking, I can manifest this. Oh, I've got a record deal. I can manifest this. I see myself being signed by Clive Davis of Arista. Got it. Boom. And it went over and over, and I kept thinking, I can do anything. And then one day the voice came.
A humbling voice.
That voice. Humbling is a good word. Literally, we know it, if we've experienced it, silent, compelling, loving, inside. And all it said, well, at first was, Alan, when you're at a piano playing for 10 of your friends, a new song, and they're all adoring you, and one person isn't paying attention, you get really upset, don't you? Busted.
Yeah.
And I went, what? Oh, yeah, you know, pearls before swine. That was me.
Yeah.
And the voice just said, and I'm driving at the time, and it says, I'm playing this song all the time, and hardly anyone's paying attention.
Wow, how beautiful.
And I was thrown into bliss, into unity consciousness, something I'd never experienced before. I was literally thrown into it. I could see the sap in the trees, I could see the stars in the daylight sky, I'm looking at the electrons in the steering wheel, and I'm in utter, staggering bliss. What do you want? You know, what do you want? Oh, you know what I want? I want a new record deal. Ask me. You've never asked me. You think you're doing it all with this manifest. So it was beautiful. It changed my life completely. And the state lasted for 4 months. I was completely in this bliss for 4 months. All my friends thought I was on acid all the time. And I'm going, give me what you got, bud.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't have anything. I wish I could give it you. But I was there.
Yes.
And then it gradually faded away. Of course, it was grace. It was grace to show me that exists. Now go find it. I went and found it in meditation. And I've been doing that meditation ever since, a form of yoga for 42 years, where I can, well, you can go into bliss.
Right.
And you know that it's your innate nature.
Right.
But what I had to learn from it was, do it for the right reason and do it honoring the divine, because it is in you. But
And it is, and it's
I
in
am
everyone.
you. Yes.
But at the same time, there are some people that perhaps have the messages a little louder and clearer because they have a particular mission or purpose to do.
Yeah,
and
maybe,
you needed to be put into a position where you knew there was more to mind than your mind, where you needed to be prepared for what was going to happen and to listen.
Yeah.
Because you were going to be shown a lot.
Yeah.
And it was time, and it's time. And the people that I interview, I start seeing patterns emerge in the types of stories coming, because they actually start validating each other that the time has come for these ancient messages, which they tried to emerge in the day of Shakespeare. And now they're trying to emerge again, and the same characters, in my opinion, keep coming back and try it from another angle to move the information forward for humanity.
Yeah,
so now let's skip to 19 years ago. You've been prepped and you're visited.
Well, as you know, Regina, what happens to a lot of us when we get on a, say, so-called spiritual path, I mean, we're all on a spiritual path, we just don't know it, but when we get on one, we go, oh, this is my path, right? You can easily, and I did, get locked into this idea of, oh, now I must be so humble. I should be in a cave meditating, and don't express your ego. Ego is Latin for I am. That's all it is. Come
That's
on.
it. It's just you.
I am. But there's a perilous balance, right? I was using it before to get all this stuff for me.
Out of balance desire.
Out of balance, sure. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into, no, I must. So in other words, I was used to going, look at me, look at me, look at me, tap dance. And now it was all, oh no, don't look at me, because that's wrong. And I had to finally come back into a complete balance between those two, because of course there's nothing wrong with the ego, the big ego of you. We're all the divine, and we're here to say that and waken it in others
and that
if
is
possible.
the classic path people go through for the most part, is you go through, oh, I'm nothing but a drop in the ocean of consciousness, and we all go through it, okay? So now you found your way back to your own true identity, because we're each here for purpose. So you have to stand in you. Now, what happened
Well,
after
so at that point I was praying heavily to the divine, saying, you can take me, I'm done. I've done what I wanted to do here, and take me. My daughter's off and running, she's at New York University, Tish, I'm fine. You can take me. I don't even like it here.
So you're ready, sayonara.
but I was really forcing God to say, show me what's next, or get rid of me, because
You don't want to just hang around.
But if I'm here for something, which I suspect I am, got to show me what it is. 2 weeks later, a friend invites me to a Shakespeare show. I had never had the least bit of interest in Shakespeare my whole life. That was a part of the programming as well. Oh, Shakespeare, bad. That happened earlier.
But you're English, aren't you?
I am English.
And you didn't have any interest in Shakespeare?
I did not have any interest, and we could go there, but that would be another show. I was blocked from knowing it, which meant I didn't have to unlearn all the rubbish.
I understand.
So he introduced me to it. She led me to it, and I realized, I went, oh my God, this is the biggest story ever. The guy left no paper trail. There are no manuscripts, no plays, no poems, not a letter, not a line in his own hand. No one even saw him. There's a mystery. Oh, I'll write this as a musical. And I'm off and running going, oh, that's what I came here for. And I'm writing it as a musical for 2 years. But then I found I was finding real codes, and of course the musical then seemed a little trivial compared to this main story that, oh, he's trying to lead us to something that is really important. Why would he do this? Why would he leave codes that I somehow have a knack for finding? And there you are. But they are deep. They go deep. Yes.
And so this character called William Shakespeare is essentially, we're going to go with your story, no other story. And your story, part of your story was also exemplified And, well, it was demonstrated in the film Anonymous, which was done by Roland Emmerich in 2011, which is a beautiful film. You can tell he poured himself in because he was as intrigued as you. You've taken it further. But nonetheless, it gets some, if anyone wants to watch it, it gives you some really rich kind of emotional
It's a good
backdrop.
primer, and it's a well-told story.
Yes, and I want us to tell essentially that and more. And so let's go to what intrigued Roland and what intrigued you, and go back to the day itself, the characters of the day, and let's make the central figure really Queen Elizabeth I.
Well, of course, you had that reign of who has often been thought of as England's greatest monarch and most powerful woman. I mean, she really was, and she had a definite intention to show the world how powerful she was. She grew up in a completely dysfunctional family, right?
Yeah, well, of course.
Her dad executed her mother when she was 2. There is that.
There's that.
You know, I mean, there were swarming around her all these intimations of incest, right? Oh, that marriage was not legitimate because it was incestuous. This is not legitimate because it's incestuous.
In other words, royal stuff.
Exactly. Just your typical everyday story at Buckingham Palace.
Right. So here you have this beautiful, passionate character who was Queen Elizabeth literate herself. She certainly seemed to historically appreciate words and history, and she had a lot of depth.
Oh, tremendously intelligent and well tutored, and I mean, she could really, talk the hind leg off a horse, as we say in England. Anyone around her, she knew stuff. But I mean, think of this: she translated a work when she was 11 years old called "The Mirror of the Sinful Soul." It was given to her by French Queen Marguerite of Navarre about incest.
Interesting.
And she translated it from French into English, and
At
it's
age
a document
11?
at age 11. And part of the principle
brilliant
behind it is that if we are brothers and sisters in Christ, but Christ is also my husband, and I am, as reigning monarch, I am the mother of, I mean, it's all a convoluted thing where she's able to rationalize
her loves.
Incest is just nothing, really. I mean, we're all basically only come from the one. How can there really be true incestuous behavior? Which figures later in her life when she's rationalizing how she can be the virgin queen.
Yes.
And yet.
And we're going to get into the and yet, because that's really the story. That's a big part of the story, is what happens from the and yet.